the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast. We hang out a little bit longer, and if you follow along with us on Facebook, then you'll know when things happen like Facebook Live. It's certainly an easy way to communicate with us. You can DM us there. You can post. And if you haven't, well, be sure to do that today because we would love for you to be part of the family.
Maybe you want to comment on this podcast.
Yeah.
This is it's not a one-size-fits all thing, so this may not pertain to everybody, but
okay, Sam.
You find that when we all try to strive to work on our personalities, our faults, different traits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you find that you do that more and more successfully as you get older, or is it the same as when you were younger?
Of course it's better as you get older.
Yeah.
I think maturity is everything when it comes to self-work.
That's what I'm finding, lately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't think I ever put the time and effort in like I did when I was younger.
So what are you working on, Sam?
I was just, free and easy, woohoo!
What are you working on?
It comes to mind because of a conversation, Jodi, actually, that you and I had yesterday, a phone conversation. We had talked on the phone yesterday afternoon, Murphy, and Jodi was asking my opinion on something, and I was like, well, here's what I think. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3.
It was work-related, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it was work-related.
Sam and I don't kick it in the afternoon.
Jodi, I got this chuck roast, and I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Or, Jodi, I'm about to date somebody new now. What do you think?
Aw, you've never asked me that. Maybe you should have. No, I'm not that friend.
Well, in that case, let's try that. Yeah. All right, number one. No. What do you think? No. We talked about something. Yeah, and I gave you, here's what I think. Boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kept talking, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, here's what I think. Boom, boom, boom. And then we talked a little more, and I was like, again, here's what I think. Boom, boom, boom. And I hung up with you, and I realized that's a trait that I have that I want to work on.
What?
It's a repetition.
Okay.
And I think, and it's back on me, not on you for not listening, because you were acknowledging everything.
I listened to you.
But for me personally, it's almost like I have to be reassured that you heard me. I said it, and you're like, "Oh yeah," da, 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 da. And it's like, okay, I want to say it again, and I don't. It's just something that I have to deal with.
I see. Wow!
And it popped into my head almost as soon as I hung up with you, and it's like, oh, see, you did that thing again.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
because sometimes people do that also for different reasons. I tend to repeat things because it drills into my mind, and I understand.
Correct.
Repeating something back causes me to remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's
me
not
too.
that I'm expecting, somebody to hear me for the first time. But I think that both of you know me well enough that depending on the nature of the conversation,
I hear you the first time.
Being heard is not an issue.
But we were trying to solve a work problem, a technical issue, actually, that I ended up sending an email about to some people we work with. So you're saying
after I told you 3 times how to do it, because I kept repeating.
I thought you switched it.
I did, but when I called back for the final, like, here's what we should do.
This is what we should do.
And I kept repeating it and kept repeating it.
So
and,
wait,
and
you're
you were
saying,
acknowledging it, but it's like, I don't know if it's
you
like.
You didn't believe me that I heard you.
Or it's just for me. Like, I got to say it a few times to know that, okay, you did actually say this and people actually heard it.
See, that is so
like
normal for you to me.
Thing.
Like, I know that you repeat yourself with things, and I honestly...
Uh-oh.
You want to know what I've assumed that it was?
I've had about enough of it.
I assume that you're just being... you're just expressing and your frustration about things, and that you just are expressing to me.
Okay.
I heard you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't disagreeing.
No,
we're just
weren't.
working something out.
Yeah, but that's just one of those little things. Another thing I've been working on, and this is for about a month or so now, and I wrote it down, and it's on a sticky pad on my laptop.
Look at you, self-work.
It says, slow down and stop thinking.
Good.
Oh, like no thinking at all?
No, not because I tend to overthink a lot, and it leads to a little anxiety, and there's times where it's like, it doesn't matter, just stop.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You've solved the problem, or you have a workaround, and the problem's gone, but I'm still thinking. What if with and what if that and da 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 da.
Or there are always going to be problems. You need to learn to sit in that sometimes and go, okay.
Yeah, I think that's a common one, because we all get in our heads, especially when it's something that's, frustrating and we're trying to work out. And, I guess the things that surprise us, that catch us off guard, are the things that we'll wind up overthinking because you want to try to solve every possible aspect. It's a protective measure. And the truth is, the core of what to work on there is exactly what you're talking about. It doesn't matter. You really have to decide what is it that you need to control or not. And I have conversations like that, whether and we all do it. So it's always easier for us from the outside, to coach, help, be a friend to those who are experiencing that. And sometimes you need it in return. But I think I've done that with our daughters before, Jodi, where they start to talk about the what ifs and where do we go. And the thing is, okay, I understand that, and it's good that you're thinking about those. But the problem you need to solve is this one. And if this part is solved, the rest is not because all that's going to be is a drain on your energy.
It is.
Right, and it puts you in a bad place. Anxiety takes you off your mark anyway. It takes your focus away.
There's a percentage of the things that you worry about that less than one of them ever come true.
Yeah, but that is one that I guess over the years I've really had to, and I wrestle with it depending on what it is. Jodi knows that. Jodi knows me obviously better than anybody else, and so if something gets under my skin until it's worked out enough in my head where I understand not to worry about, and I'm a lot better about that than I used to be too. And so when you mentioned that at the beginning of the podcast, the other thing I think is important to know is it's impossible to know any of those things when you're, in your 20s or whatever, right? Because of what we're designed to do at different times in our lives. And I used to get really bent out of shape about that when my mom would say that. Well, you're only 18 years old. You don't. But the truth is, it wasn't an insult. She was really trying to explain. When you're a teenager, your job is to become independent. All of those things that cause the teenage and the parental butting of heads, it's natural. It has to happen because if you're going to become an independent adult,
it's painful.
You have to rebel. You have to do so. Right, exactly. It's part of life. And then when you go into your 20s, if you're generally speaking a confident person, you tend to miss things because the confidence blinds you. But I find the confidence is the other thing that propels you to a degree, because if you had no confidence, then you wouldn't take any chances on anything. So it just happens later in life that way. It's not a fault. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I think that's why they say you become older and wiser as time goes on. So, hopefully, but the toughest thing for me has been putting the gaps between a thought or something that hits me, and then my reaction to it.
Right.
And I'll say that if there's one thing that I have really worked hard on over the last, that's been 20 years worth of work for me. That's the one that's improved the most because I don't get locked in. I have my clarity back, and I stay back focused on whatever the project is, and don't let it, but don't get me wrong. I have to remind myself of that.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a problem you solve. You just acknowledge
you work it.
One of the things you said, too, is it wears me out. It's just taken its toll. It's just wearing me out. Yeah. And so then you got to put in that effort to stop what you're doing, to remember to stop thinking, and just it's done. Jodi does this all the time. She goes, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Because I'll sit here and I'll verbalize something. She'll say, don't worry about it. Doesn't matter right now.
Well,
and it's like,
oftentimes, though, I know you're in your head when you do that, Sam, but oftentimes it really is, it is out of your control, and you would be happier if you would relinquish it.
Yeah.
It's something completely out of your control, out of the city, out of our realm of. And for you to for me to watch you let yourself get wound up about it, it makes me sad.
And part of that, too, is I think my internal is I know I can fix that.
Sure.
I know I can do that better. I can do it better than what was given to us or that person said. I know I can do it better.
Right.
But it's like, it's not on me.
Yes.
To do that. It's like, do what you're asked.
Yeah.
And then if it comes up or, you want to make a suggestion, which we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Look.
And that's perfect. That's actually the best way to approach it because you're not blowing it off. You've got a legitimate concern. You're not denying yourself the fact of what you believe in. You share it. But if you truly ultimately can't control it, then you don't, push beyond that. It's a delicate balance.
One of the most beautiful things that I've heard in a long time is what you said at the beginning of this podcast, that you are doing little self-work. Do you know how many people spend their whole lives not thinking they need any work?
Yeah. And it's taken me this long to stop and start doing that.
There is hopefully a humility that comes with age where you realize, I wish I would have done that differently. Well, I can't do anything about the past, but I can do something about right now today. And that is just being honest with yourself. You don't have to share it in a podcast. You don't have to post it. You don't have to even acknowledge it to anyone, but at least acknowledge it to yourself. And my other thing that I have to say this now that you brought this up, because I face this, I struggle with this, that is if I don't get it right, you can start over tomorrow. It doesn't matter if you get wound up about something later today, all is not lost. You can start over tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can. Every day is that opportunity. And I don't think anybody ever gets it perfect, but
I tell myself that, believe it or not, overnight, because when I get up to use the bathroom or I have to let the cat out or something, if I don't completely shut down the brain, it starts to think.
yes.
And it's like, oh, it's only 1:30. Let's see, tomorrow I got a da da da.
No.
Stop.
Think about how good
Go
your
back to
bed
bed.
feels.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the reason and it's a double-edged sword, but that's the reason I put it in my calendar and then I put it out of my mind. Because I'm not going to try to wrestle with remembering everything. I gave up on that a long time ago.
Oh,
I can, if I need an answer to something, if I'm organized enough, that's where I get frustrated is keeping that part together. I can immediately get to what I need to know. I really do think we're in a total information overload world that creates this expectation of ourselves where we think we're genuinely crazy if we can't remember something.
Yeah.
When the truth is, if you're processing probably 1,000 times the amount of information that you were processing 20 years ago,
And
I think we are, right?
Yes.
5 years
Thanks to
ago.
social media and everything, it's going to be impossible for anything to stick in your head. It's kind of like binge watching a show. When Jodi and I binge watched the first 2 seasons of The Crown, and Jodi went back and started watching it, I'm like,
I don't remember this.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
What? With
because
this?
we went too quick,
Yeah.
too quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also think it is a great thing. The other thing that you're doing that, I was going to say this for, another perspective thing that's helped me a lot with, me and Jodi, because I am, I'm a pretty stubborn person. I tend to be pretty set in some of my viewpoints, not unbudgeable, but, when I'm passionate about something or believe something, I'm pretty focused, And that would, of course, put me and Jodi in arguments because Jodi is equally the same way. We're two very passionate people.
Especially in the beginning of our marriage.
And
Power
that
struggles.
that would drag itself out. But now, 25 years into marriage, where I'm getting at is the place where, okay, I mean, I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but there are just things like if I have to look back on my life, this is probably because my grandmother and my parents have passed on, and I've thought about those things, that they've said. And when you get to the end, you want to be able to look back as good as possible and not regret. We're not perfect. But what I don't want to do is waste any remaining years of my life getting into a stupid argument with Jodi when I don't need to. And I'm not meaning
Who did you say is stupid?
I don't mean that Jodi's instigating it. What I mean is, and I think we both will catch that now,
Yeah.
we'll both be, and we're like, why? We're on the same team. You're my best friend. We're married. I mean, it's just like, why are we arguing about this? There are some things, obviously, that
when you
are
live together,
legitimate.
it's going to happen.
Right.
And I think the age thing too is playing into it because this year for me is a benchmark birthday.
Yeah.
And it's got me started to thinking that it's like,
Are you going to really go out like this?
how much more time you got left? Quit farting around doing this stuff and
Right.
start, working on yourself.
Right.
Good.
But,
Do it for yourself.
But, the thing to do that is I don't mean to sound so existential when I say it this way, is to actually be good to yourself when you're making that decision. The fact that you've caught it and you want to make a change versus like, being, why am I doing that? I can't believe this.
Well,
I keep
I'm
doing this.
awful.
It's like the thing I mentioned to start with, the 3 things I kept repeating to you.
Yes.
It was after it. It's like, you did that thing. Stop doing that thing.
Right.
And I know you're saying,
I didn't notice
but
that
we
thing.
repeat stuff all the time. But
Yeah.
it's like, to me, that's an issue, and I'm working on it.
And
Good.
what I'm saying is when you say stop doing that thing, you just acknowledge it and try to stop doing it, but don't beat yourself up because here I went and did it again. And that's where we tend to do that. Our internal self-critic is by far one of our worst enemies. And there are people that struggle with chronic depression and everything else that, for that. Everybody's experience, like you said, Sam, is very different and very unique when it comes
the
to
self-talk. So when you get it right and when you stop after the second time instead of the third, keep that.
Yeah.
Keep the wow. That's what keep the wow is. It's about acknowledging when you got it right, and even that even means in your own mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm getting better. I'm worthy. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's self-talk.
What's great, too? These podcasts are free to download and listen to, but it's also free therapy.
It is.
Because I just got 10 minutes of free therapy.
Yeah.
Who said it's free? I think you might owe me.
So let me ask you, is there anything you feel the need to repeat to me and Jodi right now?
All I want to say is that I'm going to slow down and start working on things.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.